on here in round 5. It's Erik Hansen from Canada, the very famous chess streamer, against Ding Liren, tournament leader before the start of today. And where's the bar? There's the bar. It's over to Ding's side.
Yeah, just doing a quick scan of the position. It's level material, level pieces. It looks pretty balanced on the face of it, but if you look at the quality of some of the pieces, Black's rook has entered the second rank, deep in White's camp. It's going to cause some real nuisance now for the rest of the game. And Black's knight on the c5 square, that is on a beautiful outpost. Yeah, it does feel like Black is in charge. That being said, the position's just repeated itself once. We saw Black's queen move across, White's knight attack it, the queen go back, the White knight go back, so a bit of a dance there. I don't think Ding is going to repeat the position again and allow the draw. I think he'll play for the win. He just needs to come up with a better
From
plan.
the opposite perspective, David, let's take a look. There are no weaknesses in the White's camp. There is only one square on c5. Yes, rook entered the camp, but we can't see any threats, direct threats. Also, there is a bit of less space for Black. There is also potential outpost on b5. There are some problems with the pawn on b4. So Ding has to decide how he continues. Objectively, I agree, there is a slight plus for Black, but it's not easy to play.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely still a lot of life left in this position. And just judging by Ding's body language as well, he just kind of looked away for a minute as if he, as if he might take the draw and might just try and get out of this game. But, he's coming up with a different plan. So I guess his idea, Yevgeny, is just to retreat the Black queen back one square next move and try and use the Black queen and Black light squared bishop on this long diagonal towards the White.
Exactly. He offers to repeat again with knight d4, but then bishop goes to a8. And queen b7. This is what David mentioned.
So he won't potentially try and repeat the position. He wants to ideally keep it going for as long as possible.
Okay, and I have an idea for Erik. I mean, you know, Erik does have an amazing dark square bishop. What happens if he... And there you go, it's on the board. Okay. Erik played the idea I wanted, which is basically just to plonk a knight on the h5 square and just say, hey,
go for the attack.
I'm going to go for the attack, because where's your queen? Offside.
Yeah, b3 square in previous game, b6 square in this game. We can find some similarities.
Now, this is a kind of bit of a roll the dice, because if it goes wrong, it's going to go really badly wrong, because some action is happening on the left side.
And also knight on f4 helps to control potential break in the center with d5. So Ding has to take the concrete decision about knight h5. There is the threat. There is the threat.
Both knights potentially could pounce to that square. Say if Black... OK, let's just look for a sensible move. OK, let's say I retreat one square. It feels a bit shaky somehow, but now I guess one of the ideas could be to jump forward with your knight. Yep. There's a lot to calculate here, actually, with the pawn in the centre, and just to demonstrate White's ideas. Now you utilise this bishop on the long diagonal and you try to break through towards the Black king. Also ideas later of swinging the queen across and going for checkmate. So very similar ideas actually to the last game, as you guys mentioned. The Black queen offside, at least temporarily. OK, this move has happened. And will we see White go on the attack now? I think it's quite likely. And if the...
Perhaps Ding simply wants to cut the long diagonal in case of knight h5 after trading the knights and playing e5 and trying to get queen g3, g6, the barrier. And at the same time attacking the pawn on e4. So the knight on h5 potentially might be also offside of play.
Yeah, so big moment here. Can White afford the time to go on the attack? But maybe it doesn't quite work yet and you might live to regret spending that time. Or do you just take out a moment to play a quiet move, as Erik chooses to do, just solidifying his central pawn here and trying to say to Black, OK, I still have time to build up before going.
What's going on with the bar here, you guys? It's crazy. It goes from one side to another with every single move here.
I think that just means there's a lot of play. You know, it doesn't quite know. I mean, maybe it thinks Black has the strategic trumps, but then at the same time, White makes a move and it's like, oh yeah, I quite like that move. So yeah, I think you've got to go by your instincts and maybe by the clock situation, because, I mean, things can go wrong in these types of positions. I mean, maybe Erik will really throw in everything towards the Black king and it might not work, in which case Ding will be very successful with his counterattack in the centre. Or on the other hand, it might be Ding who is caught on the wrong foot and with all his play on the centre, it might be the action that on the king's side, on the right side, that is going to decide everything.
And you mentioned the clock times potentially being a big factor, Ivanka. Erik is one of the fastest players out there. He's great at bullet chess. He's obviously part of the Chess Bra channel, but he's competed against the likes of Nakamura for years at bullet chess, and he's vastly experienced, some great results there. And Ding, obviously he's great as well at speed chess, great at blitz, but I think the shorter they get on time, the more random it will become. And Eric will for sure fancy his own chances, especially if he gets some kind of attack going and the clock situation is roughly level. And actually, if anything now, Eric's going to be feeling confident. Ding, under 1 minute. He's still got 2 minutes left himself. Yeah, anything can happen in this game, despite what the evaluation bar says. Let's just ignore that for the next few moves. OK, and Ding just playing a bit of a mysterious move there. Moving his rook to a defensive
He doesn't
square.
know quite what to do, so he's just playing a non-committal move. And
he's preparing a fate square for the bishop. He wants to save the king, so he didn't find the exact threat and exact defense against the knight h5. So knight h5, yes, delivering some pieces to the king's side, but then you have to guard g7 pawn, and rook 8 is preparing for that. Actually, it's a very nice time coming for the game. A time for what we like, computer chess, internet chess, nerves, and a lot of blunders would happen, clearly, even with plus 10 seconds increment.
Really?
Yeah.
I think you're right. For sure, we'll see at least 1 or 2 blunders from each side, not just from one player. And wow, OK, a knight sacrifice by Eric, and you saw him kind of react to his own move there. He's getting excited. And maybe this was what Ding was trying to protect against as well. So White's knight has sacrificed itself. The black pawn can just take that knight, but White will recapture with a pawn, and suddenly the e-file would have opened up. White's bishops are opened up towards the black king.
And you see the back rank mate. E takes d5, E takes d5, and then Eric captures the knight on f6. You can show this on board quickly, because these Ding would never blunder. In case bishop d7, bishop f6, then mate is coming.
This is very nice. A queen sacrifice breaking through on the back rank, and this is checkmate, because black's escape square, this one, is actually covered by the white bishop. So, yeah.
And it's very impressive that Eric found this idea for like 20 seconds. Thinking only for 20 seconds. Very fast reaction.
What a move.
The guy is ready to play a bullet.
Yeah, what a move. Putting your knight on prise where it can actually be captured 3 times. And actually, after this trade, black is currently a knight for just a pawn up. But look at these bishops. They're going to try and attack the black king. And, OK, black has actually just given the piece back. Let's go back to the players. There's so much drama here. There's now an attack against the white queen. How will Eric deal with this? Look at the evaluation bar. Let's maybe slightly trust it now. I was going to say, no, let's not. But yeah, this one, anything can happen. White's queen under attack. I guess White can just move it, just can retreat it. But it is also very tempting to sacrifice it here for the rook.
This is what I was going to say.
First instinct.
First instinct to sacrifice to pin the king. Now the knight delivery, threatening, knight f5. Pawn is hanging on d6, knight e7. Maybe Ding has to retreat the rook on a8 at least to trade one pair of rooks at the moment. Yeah,
this would be amazing.
This is the solution. This is the solution, and I believe now Eric is a little bit struggling to decide, because in bullet game, in any kind of blitz game, he would clearly take on 8, but 10 seconds is something, yeah.
Yeah. Chess players are artists, right? And they always want to win in a flashy way. It's not just about winning a game, it's winning in a flashy way. And this queen sacrifice, if we see it, would lead to fireworks. So let's go back to the players. Let's see how they react now that they are both down to around 30 seconds. Eric has his head in his hands. He wants to sacrifice his queen. He's just plucking up the courage.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to do it. I think it involves too much risk. And as we all know, perfectionism, it is a sin. And he retreats his queen. I wasn't thinking he would do that. I thought that he might place his queen 1 square up on the diagonal.
So, OK, no queen sacrifice yet, no fireworks yet, but still a lot of drama about to happen. We saw a rook trade. Black has grabbed a pawn. Black's a pawn up now. But still some potential attacking ideas. Look at those white bishops. Look where they're pointing. It's towards the black king. So who's going to handle the time pressure better?
Ooh, I'm excited for the time scramble that I guess is about to start. Here we go.
OK, a queen move, just centralizing, re-centralizing the queen, putting some pressure on the black knight in the center. Oof, I still feel like this position is...
I can't guess the moves anymore.
Exactly.
So everything depends on the style of the players. Somebody in such a situation is trying to get all-in positions, like delivering the pieces and to decide the game immediately. Somebody is playing very accurate.
Look
Yeah,
at
but
this
he will
move.
sacrifice the exchange. He will sacrifice the exchange on b2, deliver knight on c3, long diagonal, kind of dark squared play.
Brave move, though.
That is such a brave move.
Why?
Opening
Because-
up the diagonal on the dark squares towards the black king.
Yeah.
If you imagine white's queen picking itself up and dropping itself actually in the corner square next to the black king, that would be checkmate. If white's queen can line itself up on that diagonal, but as you guys said, black would have sacrificed something to stop that idea happening.
Yeah, and now there's an immediate threat in the board. Queen takes knight is going to be happening.
Wow, yeah. I wish we had more time to show some of these ideas, but there's so much happening on the board right now. Black has just sacrificed the exchange. A rook for a bishop.
No, I think Ding has lost the plot. I think there's too many weaknesses here.
Okay, it's still anyone's game. Black has given up a rook for a bishop, but now there is a trick in the position. Black's knight on an outpost. If white takes that knight twice, so for example, knight takes knight, the pawn will recapture, the white queen takes, then black's bishop suddenly on the dark squares will come and cause some trouble.
I believe it will be kind of strategical play. Now he would place the bishop on c4, like replacing bishop d3,
Yeah.
bishop c4, and potentially trying to attack the black's king.
Yeah,
And
so-
yeah, it's going to be really bad news for Ding on the light squares.
Yeah,
Like you
but
say.
there is very good news on the dark squares. So, and it looks like kind of fortress. Even Magnus doesn't believe they exist. So bishop gonna be on d4 and
yeah, both bishops
attacking on
pointing.
d2, yeah.
Both bishops pointing towards the enemy kings, and white's rook, at least for the next few moves, will not be too active. Black's
Okay.
knight does control
I
it.
wasn't
who's
sure
playing
about-
for a win?
I don't know. I mean, if I was playing this position, I would just be looking at the clock, being like, okay, let's play quick moves, quick moves, quick moves, and set some traps. But
Yeah.
now there's a huge threat in the position. Black's queen trying to come down, giving a nasty check. How does white stop that? Okay, just giving some breathing space to the white king.
This is nice because at least the king can hide on a light square.
Yeah, I think we'll see white's king hide on a light square. Black's king also trying to hide on the opposite colour to the opponent's bishop.
White is struggling to play without the rook. Rook on c2 is outplayed, but potentially, in case it will be maneuvered, d2, d3, f3, kind of threats possible.
You'll get there. 100%.
What do you guys think? If the queens get traded at some point, who will that favour? That is always a question in these really complex middle games.
I think that will favour black.
I think it will favour black.
Yeah, because black is under some potential long-term pressure on the light squares, that combination of the queen and the bishop. So, OK, so this is probably why Ding has advanced his pawn 2 squares forward, you know, getting ready to trade off queens.
Yeah, he could have traded queens immediately. That's slightly surprising to me that he has pushed a pawn near his king, especially while the queens remain, especially when the clocks are so low. I mean, that move, maybe it would come to my mind, but there's so much risk involved.
Sorry to interrupt.
go for
I just believe that Ding is playing for a win, and without queens, he clearly playing just to hold the draw with the dark squares, bishop on d4, knight on c3. So my belief, by playing f5, Ding guarded his king, like pawn on f7, which has been hanging all the time, and preparing the jump knight on e4 to put some extra pressure to f2 pawn. But structure is clearly fixed at the moment, and
I don't know.
very, very surprising. He allows to enter queen c7.
The
Yeah?
queen is now going to come in.
I saw both of your faces immediately after that move, just looking confused, and I'm confused too, because white's queen can now deliver a nasty check, and black's king, it's going to be struggling to survive. Okay, the queen just drops back 1 square.
Now the queen going to be outplayed by knight e4, I believe.
Yeah, very surprising move from both sides there. Black's queen just kind of placing itself offside, allowing some nasty checks. Eric Hansen not taking that opportunity, and now some big threats against the white king, maybe. Okay, white's bishop dropping back, trying to trade itself off for that strong black knight.
I understand this is a very confusing position for you guys.
Yeah, I imagine how the players are feeling as
Yeah.
well. They've got the clock pressure on them as well. We're confused here in the studio. We've got all the time in the world. But the players, they're having to handle this with seconds left. And white now threatening the black knight in 2 different ways, with the rook, with the queen. Also some nasty checks against the black king coming.
But
There's
I
also
also
the rook
believe that
now
he-
is going to come to the open line. Sorry.
Stole it.
Yeah. Just rook coming to it. So that was my idea as well.
Well, imagine what a win here would mean for Eric Hansen, one of the lower ranked players in the tournament. If he wins against Ding Liren, that would be a huge result for him.
Yeah, it would be phenomenal. And also it would shake up the rankings completely. Ding would no longer feel completely safe about qualification, despite a great day yesterday. And actually Ding there, he's just brought his knight back where it came from. So Eric, if he wants to play safe, I was going to say, can eliminate that knight. And Yep, he had options there. Maybe he could have activated his rook as well. There was a lot to work out, but he's eliminated black's knight. Will we see a queen trade? Will black's queen capture, or will black just take back with the pawn? If black takes that bishop back with the pawn, white's rook will swing across and...
Yeah, rook a2 is mate. But in case of queen e4, Dingle has to calculate, rook e2, and he's losing the pawn.
Yeah, so...
Exactly.
If that black... OK, look at Ding's face. He did not look happy there. If that black pawn in the middle falls, it's going to be game over almost. The white rook will eventually find itself on a more active square. And, rooks are just better than bishops in endgames.
And it's not just the rook. It's also the fact that the white king is going to be much more active than its counterpart as well.
Yeah, both kings will march towards the centre now, I guess. And, OK, Ding, he knows that he couldn't let the white king continue its journey. That would have just been game over. So he's giving up another pawn. He's at least going to create one strong pawn of his own, but this can be stopped by white's rook.
Yep.
OK.
There you go. It's stopped on the first row.
Yeah, and white has one pawn extra and the rook versus bishop advantage once white's king activates. It's going to be game over. Ding not looking happy. Eric, this is a huge result potentially for him.
Super impressive. And imagine these two. They're sitting just complete opposite sides of the world. It's early morning for Eric Hansen. It's super late night for Ding Liren.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the reason here.
On the camera, it looks the other way around. It's dark where Eric is, it's light where Ding is. But white has a few ways to win this position. You can, for example, just bring the rook across in front of the black pawn, blockade it, and then just march your king back and eliminate that black pawn with your rook at some point. But maybe there are other ways as well.
Ding is hoping to get the pawn on g3, but this is just a little hope to postpone the resign.
Yeah, some final tricks left maybe for Ding, but Eric should be able to guide this one to victory now. This is just as a matter of technique, as they say, right?
Yeah.
There's always some tricks in the position, but if your technique is good, you should be able to win when you have a material advantage like this one. And the king does come back, and black does go after white's kingside pawns. Yep, black's strong pawn about to fall, but more importantly, the rest of his pawns are falling as well. This is a very clever move actually by Eric, eliminating some potentially dangerous pawns. And
yeah, king and bishop are not able to control both pawns. I believe the c pawn will roll pretty fast.
Yeah, too many pawns. If white only had one pawn left, maybe some decent chances to hold the game. But it's going to take an age for black's remaining pawn, that h pawn, to...
Yeah, but I have the feeling that something would happen in this game. You know, two pawns like bishop f6, h4, like controlling maybe the c pawn, the side pawn is running, and bishop is pretty strong, and you have only half minute left. Of course, objectively, like, let's never talk like this in the rapid chess.
I mean, we've seen some twists and turns already, right? So there might be one or two left in store. White now attacking the black bishop. Where is that bishop going to go? It does want to stay on the diagonal it sits on to stop white's c-pawn advancing up the board, but it's not easy to maintain it on that diagonal.
The problem after bishop f6 that the pawn endgame is lost. This is like white is playing rook f8, pin, and c-pawn runs faster and promoting with a check in some lines.
Yeah, so if the black bishop moves, the white c-pawn will decide the game. Yeah, it's looking difficult, although the evaluation part isn't completely...
It has definitely gone down.
Yeah. I guess there might be a square for black's bishop where to put it. Do you bring it the whole way down to the a3 square to just guard black's pawn, that b2 pawn?
Maybe simple bishop c5 to block the c pawn and attacking e pawn.
Okay,
and then
possibly.
h4, yeah, everything is possible. So
exactly, the bishop chooses a square where it does potentially hold up the advance of either of white's two remaining pawns. So very interesting move there from Ding. He's going to hope that even if his pawn falls on this side of the board, that his other pawn, the h pawn, is going to run and at least cause white to give up a rook or maybe lose a few tempi in the process, a few moves. Instead, Eric, I think this is just his bullet technique coming in handy. He's just trying to gain a bit of time by attacking black's bishop. And black's bishop, though, maybe it's improved.
I'm not sure it's winning anymore.
Yeah.
Bishop pawn e5 is so strong, controlling both sides and controlling the c pawn. I think this rook has been very inaccurate.
I mean, that's the type of position we would just grab the black pawn off the board and then think later, even in classical chess, probably. But maybe Eric just trying to be a bit too clever there.
I mean, but
now it's a race. It's a pawn race.
It is a race, you know. Now the pawn can advance, and
black's pawns are very far down the board already.
But Ding's idea is pretty simple, right? Just run with Harry and see how far it goes.
Ding has nothing else to do apart from push his pawns, and that's quite a good thing in rapid chess when you only have one idea, you only have one move or one plan. Eric now shaking his head. He knows it's not easy anymore, and the computer agrees. The win maybe has gone. And he's got to be careful not to actually lose control on the board and of his emotions and lose this game, because the black pawns, they're both still alive.
It's very important that there is no h8 square. The bishop is too strong, so the h-pawn might simply roll down. And you can blunder the rook. I can't remember how many rooks on h8 in such situations I blundered in my life.
That would be very similar to my blunder against Play Magnus Age 10 yesterday. Just put the rook on a square, it can be captured. So that's why Eric dropped his rook back one square. He's going to swing it across. Okay. And look at those two black pawns.
Shaking his head now.
Now it's draw, yeah. Obvious draw.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Just no way to win this game. Black's king can actually just go and pick up some of the white pawns now. White's king is tied down to one pawn. White's rook is tied down to the other. And look how strong Black's bishop is. Black's bishop guarding both the remaining pawns. And Black's king, I guess, is just going to step back now.
Or grab the pawn,
yeah. Both moves, I think, are fine.
Yeah.
And
Shaking his
Is
head.
it a good idea now maybe for the rook just to capture the pawn and just go, let's call it a draw?
yeah, I don't think White's going to lose this one anymore. But as you say, Jovanka, White can give up the rook for both black pawns. And the bishop alone is not going to give checkmate.
Yeah.
There we go. It's going to be a draw any moment. Eric went down to 2 seconds with his last move. But yeah, that white pawn, once it falls, the game will be a draw.
A very important draw for Ding, because I think he's challenging himself and kind of current world situation without opportunity for traveling. So.